Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's show. Chris, Nick, you know what time of year it is. Ghosts and goblins, trick or treat. It's Halloween time. You know, last week we traveled down to visit the Miami Dolphins. We must have spooked them because they are no longer undefeated.
Hey, well, you remember that singer, Screaming Jay Hawkins? He had a song that said, "I put a spell on you and you are mine." Well, you spell that, C-O-L-T-S, because that's what Ted Marchibona obviously has a hex on Don Shula, because in that fourth quarter, Marchibona looked into the crystal ball and saw John Offerdahl was not playing and said, the Dolphins don't play the run very well without Offerdahl. We are going to run it in for the winning touchdown, and they did. And because of that, Ted Marchibona and the coach, like the Hellish Horseman, is riding mightily high.
I'll tell you who else lost their mind besides Nick or lost their head, and that's Joe Bugle, the head coach of the Phoenix Cardinals. He said after that game against Philadelphia last week that he didn't want to throw a pass against the Eagles during that 7-play goal line stand because the other coaches in the NFC East might laugh at him. Now, that is scary.
Something else that is scary. Sam Weiss knows it's Halloween time, so he's bringing back Freddy Krueger in the form of Steve DeBerg. Steve will start this week in place of Vinny Testaverde.
Like a third-string quarterback that wasn't even on the roster at the beginning of the season.
And there are two guys in the Rams roster, Jim Everett and Cleveland Gary. They had one foot in the grave and the other one out the door. But they've been reincarnated by their new head coach, Chuck Knox. He resurrected an offensive line. Sure, it's not great, but it's given these players both time and daylight. You know something? They're going to need it. Because this week they go trick-or-treating in Atlanta.
Trick-or-treat, ghosts and goblins. To continue with this Halloween theme, the Rams need to exorcise some demons in order to win on the road at Atlanta because they have lost 11 straight away from home. Now, speaking of streaks, Redskins' Chip Lohmiller was a perfect 5 for 5 on field goals to lead Washington. Jim Harbaugh tied a Bears record by completing 13 straight passes. Tampa Bay was perfect, too, perfectly awful in their game with Detroit.
Great day football.
Lion players were surprisingly loose, considering they came into Tampa with only one victory. It seems Detroit's beleaguered line couldn't block anybody, leaving Barry Sanders to make or break it on his own. After averaging 120 yards per game his first 3 seasons, Sanders had topped 100 yards just once this year, forcing teammates to pick up the slack. Detroit needed a shot in the arm, and Mel Gray sprang into life.
Rolling to the 15. Mel Gray fields at the 8, gets up to the 15. Mel to the 20, got a seam, 30, near side 40, off to the races, field, inside 40, near side 30.
Gray's return set up one of Detroit's 6 scores as the Lions rolled up a season high of 400 yards in total offense. Willie Green caught the first of Rodney Peace's 3 scoring strikes, and although Barry Sanders wasn't on the receiving end of any of them, he contributed in another way.
Blitz, back, got a block from Barry. Goes long right, Herman Moore just catches at the 30, 25, 20, Herman down the sideline, 15, 10, still going, to the 5, and in, touchdown! Oh my goodness, what a run after the catch. But to Barry Sanders, because he kept the on-rushing Buccaneer lineman from dropping Rodney Peace.
The second half, Sanders did what he does best.
They line up on the eye set. Handoff goes to Barry Sanders. Bounces off a tackler. Down the sideline goes Barry. Look out. He's to the 30, to the 20. Barry Sanders to the 10. He is in for a touchdown. Just like that on second down and a foot.
Hope to take it to the Packers this week in Detroit. In Green Bay, the king of the polka held court for Packer backers who were hoping to roll out the barrel and have some fun. Instead, they found themselves over a barrel because while Lefty wailed on the accordion, the Bears wailed on the Pack, who seemed to have a lot of moves but more than a little trouble finding a suitable partner. Full dance card and used a fake punt to start waltzing toward a round.
Right in motion to the left side, and off play action, rolling right. Harbaugh being chased, makes the...
Jennings' first career touchdown gave the Bears a lead they never relinquished, while Darren Lewis took advantage of shoddy tackling to seal the win.
Darren Lewis sweeping left. Lewis cuts it back.
Bears' victory leaves them but a game behind division-leading Minnesota and gives the Bears a chance to run down the Vikings when they meet this week in the Windy City. Last week, however, the Vikes hosted the Redskins, who were seeking their third straight win. But first on the road since Super Bowl 26. Operating behind a makeshift offensive line made for a long afternoon for Mark Rypien, who was pressured relentlessly and understandably hearing bells. But it was the Vikings' Chris Carter who answered the call.
I mean, 26, I'm just getting right up on him when we ran the juke pass.
The only thing more accurate than Carter's analysis was Rich Gannon's throw, which eluded number 26 safety Danny Copeland, as Carter predicted. And although the Vikings were unable to cross the goal line, victory seemed within their crosshairs as Fouad Reves cleared the crossbar. With that point, the Redskins pointedly discussed protecting their quarterback.
We got to make a tackle. We got this pretty good. We're in pretty good shape.
With ample protection, Rypien was finally able to stand and deliver. His ability to run, which proved more courageous and ultimately more important. 2 minutes to play, Chip Lohmiller attempted his 5th field goal of the day, this time for the game.
It's good. Hold is good. Kick is up. There's enough.
Tied his own club record and gave the Redskins their first road victory of the year, while the Vikings hope to remain unbeaten on the road when they travel to Chicago this week.
Monday Night Football, we've got Chicago hosting Minnesota. And Chris, they bet 4 weeks ago, a very explosive game, I might add, particularly with Mike Ditka getting all over his quarterback, Jim Harbaugh, for checking off at the line of scrimmage and throwing an interception that went for a touchdown. How has Harbaugh responded to this, you think?
Well, I really give Jim Harbaugh great credit, really, for saving the Bears' season. After that outrageous tirade by Mike Ditka, the Bears could have gone spiraling downward, but Jim Harbaugh stood in, took the criticism like a man, and really has played much better in the 2 weeks that have followed.
Chris, that's because he bit his tongue and he kept silent. Not because he feared his head coach, Mike Ditka, but because he had so much respect for his teammates. I think someday in the career of Jim Harbaugh, when people go back and say, what game did he grow up as an NFL quarterback, it's going to be that Minnesota ball game. And I think in the process, he has taught Mike Ditka a lesson.
Well, now we've discussed Jim Harbaugh. Let's discuss who's going to win this football game on Monday night. Minnesota, Chicago.
Lenny, I think this is a perfect scenario for Mike Ditka. In the pregame talk, he only talks about one thing, and that is revenge. Revenge on Gannon, revenge on the Carters, and revenge on Allen. And in the final analysis, when you boil it all down, it's going to be the pride of Chicago.
That is easier said than done. You mentioned several offensive weapons the Vikings have. They also have an outstanding defense. Currently, they're #1 in interceptions in the NFC with 12. Now, they used to say, right, Chris, hey, they can't win outdoors on the road. This year, they are 2-0. They came back the last time against the Chicago Bears and won that football game. Last week, against Washington, if they hadn't coughed up the football 3 times in the first half, they had won that ball game, and they would have been 6-1 right now. I think they're a very balanced football team. I think Minnesota's going to win.
Well, the Bears offensively are a much better team, too. Don't forget about that. And that's due in large part to the versatility of their backs. Neil Anderson and Brad Mustard now have almost as many yards receiving as they have rushing. And that should be the difference in this football game. Jim Harbaugh will be able to complete those short, quick passes to his back out of the backfield, and that'll slow down that great pass rush of the Vikings, Chris Dolman and company. I like the Bears to win at home.
Well, one of the main reasons for Minnesota's resurgence is defensive end Chris Dolman. In 1989, Dolman had 21 sacks, but since then he's fallen off drastically. But Dennis Green has rebuilt this Viking ship, and Minnesota's pass rush is back on course.
The Vikings are going to go all the way. They'll put it all together this year.
Last year was just a weird thing, an aberration.
These guys match up man-to-man against anyone. Anyone. You have to figure this season they'll finally win the big one.
In recent years here in the Twin Cities, the Minnesota Vikings did develop a bit of a double personality. Here you have this team packed with all-pro talent, but with virtually nothing to show for it. Well, this season, the Vikings are shedding that underachiever label, and they're doing it with a radical concept called teamwork. 8-year Viking veteran, 4-time All-Pro defensive end Chris Dolman has some perspective. In the mid-'80s, he watched Minnesota general manager Mike Lynn assemble a breathtaking collection of football talent. And for a while, it almost seemed like Dolman and the Vikings should go to the Super Bowl automatically. But when they kept falling short, Lynn concluded that he needed just one more big-name player. So he gave away the store for Herschel Walker.
They felt that Herschel was supposed to take the Vikings to the Super Bowl. I think they could have did it, you know, at a lesser price. I don't think you had to give up that many people to get the job done.
Fortunately, the Walker Vikings didn't get the job done, and Mike Lynn bailed out after the 1990 season.
He assembled some great talent. I don't know if we always utilized it to the best of its ability, but at least he got it there.
The Vikings were in turmoil. There was discontent over salaries, divisive charges of racism. So when Dennis Green took over as coach this year, he moved quickly to eliminate the distractions.
Minnesota Vikings, may I help you? No, I'm sorry. Mr. Walker is pursuing other interests. No, Mr. Millard is exploring an opportunity in Seattle. Who? No, Coach Green felt he could benefit from a change of scenery.
The coaching staff came in from day one. They set the pace at the first mini camp. The players responded, and if they didn't, you saw the 4 big names that disappeared off the roster. That also set the tone and the tempo for the players to understand.
I know when they let Herschel go, and they let Wade Wilson go, and Keith Millard, Joey Browner, we said, God, we're losing a lot of talent here. But sometimes you got to make changes. You know, sometimes the system needs overhauls.
So far, the results have been surprisingly good. Dolman, whose performance had slipped last season, is once again playing the ferocious brand of defense he was known for since switching from linebacker to end during his second season. And even with no first-round draft picks since 1988 and without the big players who were waived this year, the Vikings stand alone on top of the NFC Central.
Football players are very simply overgrown children, and it's like a German Shepherd puppy. You know, if you pat it on the head, it's going to come back forever. And they've got somebody that I was telling Chris, look, you are good. You know, you got some worth as a good football player, but as a good person, take that challenge, take that responsibility, and take it farther.
Success breeds happiness. And, you know, everybody, they're upbeat, their spirits are high, and, you know, they're looking forward to going to work, practicing, and playing the next week's game.
Dennis Green has come in and told everybody that your success as an individual will be enhanced by the success of the team. And Denny's very team-oriented. He doesn't care about the color green. He doesn't care about black, white. He cares about purple, and that's what he told the players.
For the first time in his NFL career, Chris Dolman has found that unity is the way to success. Ironically, it seems that same philosophy has improved his individual performance as well.
I'm sure Chris Dolman hopes there is unity when they take on the very tough Chicago Bears in a division race this week. There's another division race, a game coming up, Philadelphia traveling to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. This is the second time around. Now let's bring in Gary Myers to give us some inside information on this game. First time they met, Philadelphia easily won that football game. You know Jimmy Johnson very well. What is his approach going to be the second time around?
Well, Lenny, it's a much different approach. When I was talking to Johnson this week, he said last time he'd really downplayed the game to his team because he was afraid a loss could have a devastating effect. So he low-keyed it, and they lost the game, but they went on to win their next 3 games. This time, he doesn't mind his team getting pumped up because they can't afford to lose to the Eagles twice. The game is at home. Contrastingly, Philadelphia really got keyed up for that game. They won, but they have not played well in the next 3 weeks, and this is a very important game for the Eagles.
Well, later on in the program, we'll hear from Troy Aikman, the quarterback of the Cowboys, and get his reaction to this football game. I want your reaction to the New York situation. They have 2 teams here, the Giants and the Jets. The Giants fans are not only chanting, they're singing Ray must go, but when you look at the records of the 2 teams, the Jets and the Giants have a better record. Why aren't the fans of the Jets saying Bruce Coslett must go?
Well, first of all, the Giants situation is really deteriorating. Players in the locker room are now talking about they don't expect Hanley to be back next year. People around the league, after watching Giants tapes, are saying the Giants are not a well-coached team. They're not disciplined. They don't have enough intensity. They're not playing with confidence. And I know it was an embarrassment to the Giants on Sunday when the fans were chanting for Bill Parcells and singing about Ray must go. Historically, the Jets, the expectations for the Jets have never been as high here in New York as they have been for the Giants. They're considered to be in a rebuilding situation. This is Coslett's 3rd year. If they're 1-6 at this time next year, I think you'll hear fans at Giants Stadium chanting Bruce must go also.
So they're a little more patient than the Giants fans, I see. Well, you got it's been very patient is quarterback Steve Young of the 49ers. Here's a guy that draft time said, hey, we could trade this guy maybe to the Raiders. That didn't happen. He's been very patient. He's currently #1 in the quarterback ranking in the National Football League. What is his status with the 49ers?
Well, Lenny, you know, a week into training camp, the 49ers were still calling around teams offering Steve Young. But by the end of training camp, they called Young and want to know if he's interested in extending his contract. At this point, Young has not responded. The 49ers want to lock him up mainly because of Joe Montana's situation. Young is going to hold out now and see what happens with the market. His value is going up each week. And with free agency possibly coming up next year, he wants to see what happens. He's making $2.5 million this year. I would say in an open market, he's worth between $3.5 and $4 million.
Young is carrying the ace of Trump, isn't he? Early in the program, with tongue-in-cheek, I said that Sam Weiss is bringing Freddy Krueger back to Tampa Bay, that being Steve DeBerg replacing Vinny Testaverde. But how serious is it for Testaverde as whether he'll get back or not?
Well, this is the third time in 3 years by 3 different coaches that Testaverde has been benched. Everybody thought Sam Weiss being a great quarterback coach, if he couldn't bring out Testaverde, nobody could. Now Vinny's at a very crucial point in his career. His contract is up after this season. You don't know what's going to happen with the Bucs. Really, there's 3 scenarios. If DeBerg plays well, I think he'll stay in there the rest of the year as long as the Bucs are in contention. If DeBerg gets hurt and they're in contention, I think they'll go back to Testaverde. Once they fall out of contention, there's a very good chance they'll try rookie Craig Erickson.
Well, thank you very much. We'll see you in the pick segment.
Oh, you got to show up for the pick segment the way
Just
it's going
barely,
for you.
though. You know, in Foxborough Stadium, only 32,000 showed up to watch the Patriots lose again. In Giants Stadium, over 140,000 fans were in attendance. Half suffered through a heartbreaking Jets loss. The other half let the Giants management know what they think.
In the Jersey Meadowlands, the sun continued to set on the once formidable New York Giants and their embattled head coach Ray Handley, as Giant fans wailed the blues with some off-key vocalizing of that pop chart tune titled Ray's defense yielded the punchless Seattle Seahawks first touchdown in 14 quarters.
Has a man at the back. If he's in, yes, touchdown.
Seattle's rare score notwithstanding, the Giants harken back to the days of yore when the Big Blue defense dominated. 2 remaining vestiges, number 58 Carl Banks and number 56 Lawrence Taylor, had momentary flashbacks to yesteryear. Offense, the Giants were paced by Jeff Hostetler's touchdown pass and touchdown run. But the fact they merely eked out a win over one of the league's weakest teams is a sobering reality. And with the Redskins on the horizon, the debris of a lost season lingers on. Both Coach Dick MacPherson and his defensive coordinator Joe Collier contend the Patriots are the best winless team they've ever seen. And against the Browns in Foxborough, the Pats indeed played like a real team.
Should be a run back from the 39 across the 40 goes Stanley.
New England's touchdown was the first against Cleveland in 14 quarters, and it was quickly followed by a second. The team in the entire NFL celebrated what appeared to be their first victory of the '92 season. But facing 4th down and only 31 seconds left to play, Cleveland came from behind for a dramatic win. Surging Browns won their 3rd straight, while disappointed Dick MacPherson has the daunting prospect of facing the Bills this week. The Bills have long been the AFC's brightest lights, but in recent weeks they've dimmed considerably. At the Meadowlands on Monday night, however, Buffalo switched on the incandescent Thurman Thomas, who lit up the Jets for 142 rushing yards. This 19-yard Thomas carry set up a Kenneth Davis touchdown.
Tight ends, and here.
First half touchdown came on a Jim Kelly to James Lofton scoring pass. Buffalo led at the intermission 14-6, but the desperate Jets played the second half like their season was hanging in the balance. A pair of touchdown runs, including one by Pat Chafee, enabled New York to assume a 20-17 advantage. With less than 2 minutes to play, Kelly led the Bills on a 75-yard, 7-play drive that consumed just 59 seconds. A 12-yard strike to Thurman Thomas. Kozlitz's disappointing Jets fell to 1-6, but the Patriots remain the sole occupants of the AFC East cellar, a place they're not likely to escape after playing Marv Levy's Bills this weekend. Coming up on NFL Crosstalk, Cowboys quarterback Troy Aikman discusses Dallas's plans to avenge their only loss this season. More NFL highlights, including the red-hot San Diego Chargers and their shocking win over John Elway and the Broncos. And where are they now spotlights a purple people eater, the Vikings' Alan Page, now trying to win a seat in the Minnesota Supreme Court.
You won't want to miss the Where Are They Now on Alan Page. I remember facing him in Super Bowl IV, and thankfully I had good protection. Dallas's Troy Aikman is going to need good protection on Sunday against the Eagles. In his career, Troy has been sacked 103 times, 24 of them to the Eagles, including 4 earlier this season. The Eagles' front line forced Aikman into 3 interceptions as well in handing Dallas its only defeat of the season. The rematch is Sunday, and Troy Aikman is with Chris now to talk about the big game.
Troy, we appreciate you taking some time to be with us. Do you have your suit of armor ready for this one against the Eagles?
Well, they've put a lot of pressure on me in the past and have had a lot of success against our offense. We're looking forward to the challenge once again, and I think anytime you go into the ball game against Philadelphia, they have put a lot of pressure on the quarterbacks, not only me, but every team that they've gone up against, and you've got to expect to get hit a little bit.
Well, last time the Eagles took Emmitt Smith out of the game and made your offense look bad. What can you do differently this time against Philadelphia?
Well, I think that the biggest thing for us the last time we played them was that we turned the ball over 5 times. That put our defense in a tremendous hole, and when you're playing a team like the Eagles, you can't afford to do that offensively. Emmitt has not had a lot of success against them either, but I think the one thing that you've got to do against them is you've got to be committed to running the football. Even if you're not having success, you've got to be able to come in there and still try to run the ball. As soon as their defensive line realizes that all you're going to do is pass, then you're in for a long afternoon.
Well, the Eagles' pass rush has really beat you up the last few times that you played them. Do you have to change your philosophy throwing the ball against this team, shorter, quicker passes, or do you just run your offense?
Well, you try to do things differently. Yeah, you'd like to say that you can come out and get rid of the ball a lot quicker, but they've got an outstanding defensive secondary as well, so they're used to teams trying to do that against them. I think more importantly what you got to do is try to stick with your game plan. Too many times teams try to come in and change things up, things that they're not real comfortable doing, and it comes back to haunt them.
How important is this game? If you lose and are swept by the Eagles, they hold the edge if it comes down to a tiebreaker. What has Jimmy Johnson had to say about the importance of this week?
Well, this is a big ball game, and Coach Johnson has done a good job explaining that to the football team, and it's not something that we necessarily needed to hear because we realize the importance of it. The one thing about it is that we go down to Philadelphia a few weeks back, we lose the ball game. At that time, the media wanted to make it out to sound like it was a make-or-break ball game for both teams. We lose, and 3 weeks later, we're on top of the division. So, like last time we played them, we've still got a lot of football left to be played. There's going to be 8 more ball games for us, and a lot of things can happen. I think that if we're able to win this ball game, it obviously puts us more in the driver's seat than where we're at now. But if we lose, it's not going to determine the outcome of the rest of the year for us.
You know, Michael Irvin's had a great year, but no touchdown passes in the last 4 weeks. Are defenses beginning to try and take him out of your game?
Well, we've seen more of that, yes. Teams are trying to put 2 guys on him and eliminate the plays that he's been able to make. I think that's why Alvin Harper last week, he came up and he had a big day for us. Emmitt Smith has continued to run the football well for us also, and then Jay Novacek. So if teams try to take Michael out, we feel that we've got some other weapons that can step up for us, and right now that's been Alvin over the last few weeks.
All right, Troy, good luck this weekend. Appreciate you being with us.
Thanks, Chris.
Nick, Len?
All right, Chris, thank you very much. Nick, watching Troy Aikman, I know what his next profession is going to be. He is going to be in the government, going to run for some office, because there was no way he was going to give any ammunition to the Eagles so that they could post it up on their bulletin board and use it against
No,
us.
he was not going to be a Michael Irving. He was not going to let his mouth get him in trouble. But one thing about this Dallas team, Lenny, is that it's different than the team that traveled up to Philadelphia. I think after Kansas City pummeled the Eagles, I think the whole league woke up and everybody got more confident. This is a well-balanced Dallas football team. If they can't do it on the ground, they think they can do it through the air. So I look for the Dallas to really do well this week.
Well, I think the key in that football game is going to be the guy that we just heard from, Troy Aikman, the quarterback. Eagles and Cowboys have both been looking forward to this rematch for a month, but first they had to get past tough opponents. The Eagles were locked in a defensive battle, and Dallas had to travel to the Raiders, confident winners of 3 in a row.
After 3 straight victories, delirious Raider partisans were already pointing toward the Super Bowl. The season's largest crowd of 91,000 jammed the Coliseum not just to see the silver and black.
I can't believe it. Look at all that blue up there. Not moving either. Look at it.
Fans of America's team are out of hiding. The Raider defense buried the Cowboys in a deep hole. Offensively, the silver and black stretched the field with their vertical passing attack.
Back to throw. Pressure from Haley. Throws it to the end zone. One-on-one.
Whether it's slant or belly, it's going to be drive across, and you'll be right behind him.
Smith up the middle. Breaks a tackle.
Smith, the NFC's leading rusher, scored 3 touchdowns, and the Cowboy offense showcased the bruising brand of football played in the NFC East. With Irvin double covered, Aikman sought to isolate Alvin Harper.
Deep ball to the middle.
Outfought and outthought the Raiders in the second half. Defense did not allow a third down conversion and pummeled quarterback Todd Marino.
Gash open up right there, huh? Oh, guys say right. You see him throwing here, the out road.
Some of the offensive weapons, I think you're right, Brad. This is a very good offensive team.
Gaping hole on the left. He's going to score. To the 10. Smith rolls in. The offensive line blew it open, and Emmitt Smith looked like an agent at Spargo with about 4 starlets in the...
Enjoy this one tonight and strictly think about Philadelphia from here on out. And I mean, it's going to be a tough ball game next week, and we want to go out and perform much better than what we did last time we played them on the Monday night game. We want to go out and prove to the world we are capable of playing well against Philadelphia or against anybody in the league.
When the season began, the Eagles seemed to have blossomed into a Super Bowl contender, but in recent weeks, the Birds have gone to seed. And against the visiting Cardinals, the sputtering Philadelphia offense continued to play like, well, fertilizer. Cunningham, who had thrown 10 touchdown passes in his first 5 games, has tossed just 2 in his last 2 games, including this 40-yarder to Calvin Williams. But the scoring pass would prove to be enough, because Philadelphia's defense demonstrated why it is the league's toughest to score upon. The Eagles mounted a tenacious goal line stand in which they were penalized 3 times, meaning that the Cardinals had 7 tries to get into the end zone. The Eagles turned them away every time.
Chandler this time gets it off, and they stick Bailey. Them in mid-air. Getting a lot of cracks at this. If the Eagles stand them up one more time, they will go to the locker room as a beaten team.
On Phoenix's final attempt, Johnny Bailey had a fast lane to the outside, but he elected to navigate his way through heavy traffic. The Eagles' defense will get another stiff test this weekend against the Cowboys' well-balanced attack.
We've watched highlights of both Dallas and Philadelphia from last week. We've heard from the Cowboys quarterback Troy Aikman. It's our turn right now to talk about this football game. I think Dallas must put pressure on Randall Cunningham. That shouldn't be all that difficult because other teams have been able to do that. As a matter of fact, they're just 2 away from New England and Seattle as the worst, and New England and Seattle combined record is just 1 victory. Nick, after a 4-0 start, the people were saying Philadelphia was the class of the National Football League. Since that time, they have struggled. A lot of criticism has been pointing in the direction of quarterback Randall Cunningham.
Of course, blame the quarterback. Blame Randall. For those people who are criticizing Cunningham, we're going to come in and rip your televisions out of your house and rip up your season tickets. It's easy to blame the quarterback, but he obviously misses Keith Jackson, and with Keith Byers, the versatile running back, hurt, he is really going to have a problem because Dallas is going to play double zone, double covering both Barnett and Williams. This means that Herschel Walker has to carry the load. The only problem is Herschel Walker has had his day in the sun.
And Herschel will see a much improved Dallas Cowboys defense. Since the 3rd week of the season, the Cowboys have gone from 22nd to 2nd in total team defense. And a big reason for that has been the play of rookie middle linebacker Robert Jones, who leads the Cowboys in tackles. What an incredible athlete this young man is. He runs a 4.6 40, bench presses 500 pounds, and has a 38-inch vertical jump. No wonder he's the first rookie to start at linebacker for the Cowboys since Leroy Jordan in 1963.
You have just described super. It's the #1 defensive unit in the National Football League, Philadelphia, against the #2 unit, the Cowboys. I want to know who's going to win.
Well, Lenny, in the first game, Dallas was intimidated. This is a different Dallas team. It won't happen again. I like the Cowboys.
In order to win a championship, you must improve week after week. Dallas has been able to do that. Philadelphia has not. I don't look for Philadelphia to score much against the Cowboys. I like the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, the Eagles are the only team that I've seen that shut down Emmitt Smith. But that was in Philadelphia. I don't think that's going to happen in Dallas. I agree with you guys. I like the Cowboys.
So there we are. 3 for the Dallas Cowboys. All right. It will be a real treat to see that Dallas-Philly game. Well, it's Halloween time this weekend, but the Ghosts and Goblins started early. How else do you explain Miami's loss, John Elway's non-comeback, and the Chiefs losing at home by 24 points? And, of course, they were in full costume in Houston's Astrodome.
Here it was, the week before Halloween, and the Bengals had already chosen their costumes. They arrived at the Astrodome dressed as the team of the living dead, riding a 4-game losing streak. The disguise held up in Houston. Second best pass of the day came in the second period, but receiver Brian Brennan did most of the work on this 17-yard scoring play. The touchdown tied the game, but that's as close as the Bengals got. They spent the rest of the afternoon watching Warren Moon rack up another 300-yard passing day.
Ernest Gibbons caught the ball. Throw, pump fake. Now looking. Now deep for Slaughter. He's got it. Touchdown!
With that final score, the Oilers secured a tie for first place in the AFC Central with their next opponent, the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was the first meeting between Chiefs head coach Marty Schottenheimer and longtime assistant Bill Cowher, now the head man in Pittsburgh. It was all smiles for Cowher, especially after Rod Woodson did a dance through the Kansas City special team.
And up comes Woodson, bobbles it at the 22, gets it back up at the 25, the 30. Here he comes. Over the 50, the 45, the 40, the 30, down to the 20. He's going. City like water through a sieve.
The Steeler defense celebrated that touchdown by stuffing Chiefs quarterback David Craig, forcing 3 interceptions, stifling the Kansas City running game, and allowing Kansas City just 179 total yards and 3 points. For the second straight week, the Steelers have held an opponent without a touchdown.
Fires the pass into the end zone for the touchdown to the big guy.
With Halloween just around the corner, Pittsburgh came dressed to kill. And after tight end Eric Green pounded the final nail in Kansas City's coffin, the surprising Steelers found themselves a little wet, but off to their best start in 10 years. It seems that with each passing week, the Denver Broncos comeback kid adds to his legend. But last Sunday in San Diego, it was Charger quarterback Stan Humphries who put up John Elway numbers. Threw for a career-high 349 yards, and 2 of his receivers, Alvin Miller and Derek Walker, each had over 100 yards receiving and a touchdown. Happens when you're leading by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and the Broncos have the ball. That Elway guy goes to work.
Here's the snap. Here it comes. Elway at the 5. He walks into the end zone. To the right. Lets it go to the end zone. It's a touchdown.
Mark Jackson's score brought Denver to within 4 points with 3 minutes left. Once again, the Broncos were at destiny's door, but this time the Chargers slammed it shut.
Elway back to throw. Looking left, throwing deep to the end zone. Intercepted. San Diego got the ball.
San Diego's next foe, the Indianapolis Colts, pulled off an even bigger surprise in Miami, where the undefeated Dolphins were prepared to roll to victory number 7. And it appeared they would, with ease. Minutes later, Miami's flea flicker was outdone by a suddenly frisky Colt.
Dan, he comes to the near side, hops away, cuts back into the middle, gets across the 30, 35. He's got it all the way. Here goes Burdan down the near sideline. It's a foot race. He's to the 15, the 10, the 5. He scores.
Clinging to a 4-point lead, the Colts allowed Dan Marino and the Dolphins every opportunity to win the final seconds. And on the final play of the game, number 13 gave it one last
Quick
shot.
snap to Dan. He looks, he throws. Ball batted up in the air, and it's picked off. Steve Edmond. Edmond lumbering down the far sideline. He's to the 50. He's to the 40. He is going to score. The time is run out, and the Colts win.
Steve Edmond and the Colts can only hope they'll be fully recovered for this weekend's matchup with the San Diego Chargers.
Steve, suck up that air because you don't have long before you take on the San Diego Chargers. It's going to be a tough game. Gentlemen, here's 2 teams turning their programs around. Last year, Colts 1-15. Chargers, after an 0-4 start, have won 3 ball games in a row. One reason, I think, is Stan Humphries is settling in at quarterback and producing some points for that football team. As you can see, 0-4, just 29 points. The last 3 ball games, all victories, a very respectable 75 points. But, Nick, that's on the offensive side of the ball for the Chargers. How about the defense?
That Bobby Ross and Bobby Bethard made in the offseason was my old defensive coach, Bill Arnsparger, as their defensive coordinator. His philosophy is simple: bend but don't break. The longest pass that they've given up on defense so far this year, 42 yards. The other thing, he's able to identify the 1 or 2 people on offense that he's playing against, how to take them out, and what coverages to put his team in. He does that extremely well. The third thing, no mental mistakes. And this chess match is going to pit Ted Marchibroda against a real grandmaster in Bill Arnsparger.
Yeah, but Ted Marchibroda is missing a few pawns, some real problems on that offensive line for the Colts. They may have to play this game without their top 3 offensive guards. Add that to the fact that their best tackle, Zephyrus Moss, didn't even play last week against Miami. And you have to go back to the draft now. They decided to go almost exclusively on the defensive side of the ball. Didn't take a much-needed offensive lineman, and this may be the week that they really get burned for that decision.
Jeff George is probably hoping the defensive standouts, Junior Seau and Leslie O'Neal, are slow healers because they're questionable for this ball game, because when they are healthy, they can put heat on that quarterback. All right, Nick, who's going to win this 5-star event?
But you have to go back to the game they played in Indianapolis. What was the key for the Chargers? It was their running game. This week, San Diego will march down the field, and they will kick the Colts' butts.
No. Butts is Marion Butts. He plays for San Diego, not the Colts. But I agree with you. I think San Diego is going to win this ball game. I said at the beginning of the year, if the quarterback position can be consistent, San Diego will be a contender. I like San Diego. Now, Chris, you said after an 0-3 start, the Chargers have a chance to make it to the playoffs. But then you're still the same guy that said that the front 7 of the Colts was the best in the National Football League. This must be a tough choice for you.
These are my 2 favorite teams. The only thing I've gotten right the entire season. But I just don't know how Jeff George and that Colt offense is going to be able to move the football with all the problems on the offensive line. I agree with you guys. I like San Diego.
Well, we all like the Chargers, but they have a long way to go before they win a Super Bowl. An achievement, the subject of our Where Are They Now, was not able to do despite 4 tries.
Parents worked very hard to make sure that I understood that if I was going to be successful, if I was going to have a better life than they had, then I had to be educated. And that was my focus when I was a child. Along the way, I became a football player.
Alan Page, arguably the best pass-rushing defensive tackle in National Football League history. From 1967 to 1981, first with Minnesota, then Chicago, Alan Page would redefine his position through enormous strength and quickness. Playing on one of the greatest lines assembled, Page became the first defensive player chosen MVP. He never missed a game and had 173 sacks, but after 15 seasons, Alan needed a change.
One of the things that football does, if you play it as long as I did, is it stunts your development, stunts your growth. And I was ready to get on with life, get on with life away from football. And I say that having loved the game.
A game he played while enrolled as a full-time law student at the University of Minnesota. Alan passed the bar in 1979, and today is the Assistant Attorney General for the state of Minnesota.
I've always had a sense of wanting to solve problems, be a part of solving problems, and I see the law as a vehicle for solving problems.
And one of the biggest problems society faces in the 90s is an educational crisis. To combat this problem, Page has established 2 programs which deal with the education of our youth, and for his unselfish work, received the 1991 Friend of Education Award. But Alan likes to think the biggest winners are today's youth.
If we think that the problems are too large, too complex to deal with, then nothing will ever happen. And I dare say that's what's been going on in this country the last 12 to 14 years. We've just sort of put our heads in the sand and refuse to deal with some very difficult problems.
In his 47 years, Alan Page never ran away from an issue that he believed in. Now, with the same zest, he competes in marathons. But the best part of running is the quality time he spends with his wife, Diane.
It was something that we could do together. It was time that we could share, and in this fast-paced, crazy world, there aren't too many times that we get to do something together that we both enjoy and that we both love.
And with 4 children, there's plenty of love to go around. You see, Alan's just like any proud father who enjoys watching his children take part in athletics.
Hurry, Justin! All the way through, all the way through!
That's won by a bunch.
Way to go, Justin!
Alan Page is a man who leads by example, not satisfied with being a spectator of life. And the lesson today's youth learn from reading this page are words of wisdom. Stay in school. You're too good to lose.
Alan Page was a great football player. He has higher ambitions now. He's running for a seat on the Supreme Court in the state of Minnesota.
He's not the only ex-football player running, Lenny. My ex-teammate Earl Morrill is running for the House of Representatives from Broward County, and we all know that you need high morals in politics. Good luck, Earl.
All those political questions will be answered on November the 3rd. The question everybody has on their minds right now, Nick Bonaconti, is how did we do last week in our pick segment?
Not as good as Gary, unfortunately.
He just sits over there and smiles and smiles and smiles.
This is getting embarrassing for you guys.
It's getting embarrassing. I see. Okay.
He's cocky now. He's dead.
You know, early in the show, we discussed several games and made our selections. Now let's pick the rest of the games, starting with the ones that we agree on. Buffalo will defeat New England. San Francisco will win their 6th straight, beating Phoenix. New Orleans will hand Tampa Bay their 4th loss in 5 games. Now for the rest of the games in more detail. Cleveland at Cincinnati. Gary, the Browns have won 3 straight. Bengals have lost 5.
It's certainly a different Bengals team than the one that opened the season with those 2 victories. David Shula is getting away from the no-huddle as the base offense. Boomer Esiason is wondering about his future in Cincinnati. Cleveland is playing really well right now. I like them to win on the road.
Hey, I like Mike Tomczak.
Oh,
boy, what a quarterback he is. Well, no. Hey, ever since Cincinnati lost to Green Bay, a game that they should have won, that whole team has fallen apart. I don't know if Boomer Esiason knows what receivers out there and how to get the ball to them. I like the Browns.
Yeah, but teams have been beating the Bengals through the air, and I don't see Mike Tomczak and the wide receivers from Cleveland being able to do that. Ron Lynn has always been able to stop the run. That's what Cleveland does best. The Bengals.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right for stepping up there and
What a
being
homer.
somebody.
Yeah.
You know, you
agree with me.
you win games on defense. The Browns are playing defense. Cincinnati's not. I like Cleveland. Green Bay at Detroit. Nick, Barry Sanders last week, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns.
You know, I'm happy for Detroit because early on they lost so many close ball games. That offensive line has fallen apart because of injuries. Sanders would have had a great year had he had a great offensive line, but I still think it's Detroit this week.
Yeah, they lost another offensive lineman last week, but you have to think that Detroit at home still has the better talent. I like the Lions.
You know, the Lions are looking to stabilize the situation, the coaching, by giving Wayne Fontes a 2-year extension. Now they need to stabilize that offensive line. Lomas Brown is the only starting offensive lineman left from this time last year. I think you'll see Barry Sanders just running behind him Sunday, and they'll win.
Well, Barry Sanders is the key, and I think he'll do it. I think that they will win. Detroit City. Houston at Pittsburgh. Steelers have won season opener. What about this time around, Chris?
The Steelers have done a better job against Warren Moon and that run and shoot than anybody else in the AFC. I'm surprised they're an underdog in this ball game. I like Pittsburgh.
First game of the year, they intercepted Moon 5 times. They played him in Pittsburgh last year. They intercepted him 5 times. The Steelers' defense has been incredible so far, only 11 points a game. I think they'll upset the Oilers on Sunday.
You know, Pittsburgh's defense has been great, but Houston has the flash, and they're not going to have, Warren Moon's not going to throw as many interceptions as he did in the first ball game. I think the running game with White will overcome Pittsburgh's defense. I like Houston.
I think you hit it on the key thing is Warren Moon threw 5. He doesn't do that twice in a season. I like Houston in this ball game. We've got the Rams at Atlanta. Falcons, although not doing all that well, they're 10-3 in their last 13 games.
Right. The Rams are coming off a really big victory against the Giants a couple weeks ago. The Falcons gave up 56 points to the 49ers. They're last in the league, giving up almost 400 yards a game. Deion Sanders is questionable Sunday. I think the Rams will win on the road.
You know, the Rams' defense impressed me again in that game against the Giants, as much as the offense. I think it was an all-around great game for the Rams. The Falcons seem to be losing steam game after game. Even though the Rams are traveling, I like the Rams.
I agree with both of you guys. I think Chuck Knox is finally beginning to get his program across for the Los Angeles Rams. I think they'll win on the road, too.
Well, I don't believe that because they haven't won on the road in 11 starts. Do you think they're going to start now? I don't think it's the time for the Rams to win. I like Atlanta. We got Miami at the New York Jets. What do you think of this? O'Brien is starting, by the way.
O'Brien is starting, and O'Brien always has big games against the Dolphins. I mean, you have to go back to that great shootout with he and Marino. But the Dolphins will not come here and lose 2 in a row. The Dolphins' defense, if they can get John Offerdahl back, I think Miami will win.
Yeah, Ken O'Brien's had some big days. The Jets are playing better. They haven't quit yet, but I agree with you. The Miami Dolphins, if they're right, should win this one.
I think the Jets' season ended on Monday night when they lost that really tough game to Buffalo. I don't think Marino will lose 2 in a row. I think they'll come here and win.
I think you're right, Gary. I like the Miami Dolphins as well. On Sunday night, we've got the New York Giants at Washington. Redskins have won 3 in a row.
And they're beginning to look like the world champions once again.
Yeah,
at home,
like
the Redskins should have an easy victory here.
This will probably be Lawrence Taylor's last game ever in RFK Stadium, but I don't think that'll be enough to carry the Giants. The Redskins do look like 1991 right now, and they'll win at home.
You got to remember, Washington did not score a touchdown last week against Minnesota, but the Giants' offense doesn't look any better. I like Washington.
Joe Gibbs somehow, some way gets the job done, does he not, even with all the injuries? I like Washington as well. Well, that's our show for this week. Remember, Inside the NFL premieres each Thursday evening at 11 p.m. And if you missed any part of it, you can catch it again Fridays at 7 p.m. and Saturdays at 11 a.m. Those times are Eastern and Pacific. That's our show for this week. We sure hope you enjoyed it, and we sure hope you'll join us next week on HBO's Inside the NFL. Boxing returns to HBO Halloween night in London when Razor Ruddock and Lennox Lewis battle it out with the winner fighting for a shot at the heavyweight title. That's this Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern and Pacific. Then on Sunday, you'll see the premiere of the Countdown to Holyfield versus Bowe. Your chance to see both fighters prepare for their anticipated heavyweight title fight. And you can see it again next Wednesday, November 4th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern and Pacific, only on HBO.
Hi. In 1954, I left the New York Giants to play in the Canadian Football League. Tune in next week to see where I am now.
Station of HBO Sports, a network of champions.